welcome to Drink and Champagne episode. That's 14 now. Are we? No, 15. Holy cow! I missed an episode. I am Josh, and I believe I've been contractually obligated to introduce my co-host here as Beemie winner Andrew Champagne. I and if you are listening to us and not watching us, apparently Andrew just kissed the trophy that he acquired. Andrew, did you really buy that for just because you won a Beamie Award, or what's the story behind that
I
trophy you got
had
there?
this trophy that you saw on my Twitter account a couple of days ago just lying around. My now fiance got it for me as a gag gift a while back. I can't even remember the occasion as to why, but I got to thinking when I was doing my annoying award winner shtick, and yes, it's a shtick. It is a shtick designed to make people who I enjoy getting very angry, very angry. So if you saw that and it ticked you off, I win. Anyway, I found this and I said, what can I do here? So I wound up taking a selfie of me with this little minuscule trophy and putting it out with an appropriately inspirational message on my Twitter feed. And hopefully everyone enjoyed that. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the Beamies. That was an unexpected surprise on behalf of Jason Beam, who apparently just up and decided, hey, I got a whole bunch of stuff here. I may as well do something with it. Well, the best to never win a Beamie won a Beamie. And I can't say I saw that coming, but on a serious, non snarky note, the Beamies do something, or rather, I should say, did something that's very, very difficult to do, and that is bring horse racing Twitter together. That's why they became a thing. It's why they became a really big thing, and it's why they're missed by a lot of people. Jason obviously did not have to do that, did not make any money doing it. He just did so out of the goodness of his spirit, I guess. And for that, I am incredibly grateful. And horse racing Twitter and horse racing fans everywhere, incredibly grateful as well. So that was really cool. And yeah, I'm enjoying rubbing the fact that I finally won one in the faces of a couple of people. So that's always fun.
Unfortunately, I do have to remind you that you actually did not win one because this is not tech. That was technically not. That was a fraudulent award.
You know what that's spoken like, Josh? It's spoken like someone that didn't win a Beamie. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm
I
booing
won.
you.
I have the trophy that proves it. And this is going on my mantle next to this thing, which is, of course, the Friendlies Mini Golf Invitational Trophy that I won from the Neville's family back in August. My trophy case really is an incredibly peculiar assortment of possessions.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna accept that.
Well,
You.
it's not your call. It's my call. I am your champion, damn it. Learn to live with it.
Oh my goodness. Um. I want to say that. I guess Andrew, you're kind of like a grade one winner. You know. Yeah, yeah. I guess you can put that next to your whatever your breeding accomplishments, if you choose to go that direction. But in the year of 2022, it's not going to mean much because yeah, we talked about this a little bit off air, but man, the grade ones this year are going to be if this is what we got. It's gonna be a kind of a weird year. I think it's gonna be a down year. I don't know. I feel like we say this every year too about, or at least I've said this especially about the Pegasus field, and I know I got. We're gonna talk through some of the pick four here, for the Pegasus, and I know maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because I actually think the grade three Fred Hooper came up as an interesting race with some, I think, very solid grade three horses here. But yeah, like the older the older classic or older maybe just the older horse division in general this year is I think is going to be as trying of a group as we've seen in a couple years. I know there was some talk about star power right this year that the Pegasus doesn't really have any star power, but and I do think to some people's some people's arguing um, that it's a very good betting race. It's a very even field, and I agree. I don't think that there's any kind of big standout, depending on what you think of Cyberknife. Possibly, and I think Cyberknife is a grade one caliber horse. Would be a grade one caliber horse in um, previous years as well. But I mean, once you get past that, like it's hard to kind of make a case for some of these other horses. But maybe we'll get to that maybe a little bit more as we get when we get into the actual Pegasus, because we're going to start here at race 10. Um,
One thing
the
I will say before we move on, and this is going to your original point, it's okay to say that the Pegasus is a very good betting race. It is. However, if this is where we're starting the year from the handicap division, from a quality standpoint, it just doesn't measure up. And it's okay to say that too. Two things can be true, nuance matters. And I posted something to that effect on Twitter a couple of days ago and got skewered for it. I understand
Rightfully so.
nobody wants to see 5 horse fields with a 1-5 or 2-5 favorite, but I want to see grade one races that look like grade one races. This one doesn't. And it's okay to say that too.
Funny enough, everyone does like to see you get skewered. So, I mean,
It's
there is
okay.
that.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. You know why? Because I am your Beemie Award winner. And
My
I believe the only person ever to pull off the Beemie Saratoga All Media handicapping double. I believe I am the only person that has ever done that.
And since this was a 2020 Beanie, was that also your pink sheet year?
No, 2017 and 2021 were my all media years. I've won 5 pink sheets. I'm going for number 6 this coming summer. Yes, I'm a heel. I'm the pro wrestling heel that everyone pays their money to see get beat up. And you know what? I'm okay with that. 30,000 views to my little website over the course of the summer last year with no payment and no promotion outside of my social media and my little blurb in the pink sheet from time to time. Something I'm doing's working.
This is possibly the worst thing that could have happened.
No,
This is the
it's not
darkest
the worst
timeline.
thing that could
This
have
is the
happened.
darkest timeline. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
No,
you
it's
could have
not
won
the
all of them.
timeline. My God, we're going into community references now.
Oh
My
my
goodness.
goodness. All right, race 10, the Fred
All right,
Hooper
Hooper.
here. We're gonna be going a mile here on the dirt. We got a nice full field, and I will say I haven't had a chance to look at the entire card. I looked at the late pick four for tonight. Tomorrow we're gonna take a look, a closer look at the late pick five with myself, Mark, and our good friend Matthew DeSantis. He'll be joining us with
Oh,
Caleb out of
nice. He's
town.
everywhere, man. That guy does a lot of fun stuff.
He is everywhere, and I always appreciate the fact that seems to always be available Thursday nights, unlike somebody who has a bowling league apparently on
Yes,
Thursday.
I'm sorry for having a life,
Yep.
Josh.
Uh, Let me where's the button? Oh, here we go. I'll do you again. But yeah, this is a full field of 13. It looks like your morning line favorite is going to be Miles D here at 3-1. I thought that was an outrageous morning line favorite in this spot, but you know, um, clearly the person who makes the line here thinks otherwise. Um, Endorsed sitting at 5-1. You got Black Belt at 6-1, Mish at 6-1, picking up the pennies and 12-volt man at 8-1, and then you got everyone else at double digits here. As the fraudulent Beamie Award winner, I will let you go first. Where did you kind of land here, Andrew?
Yes, as the Beemie Award winner,
Fraudulent.
I have decided that this race sets up for a closer. There's a lot of early speed in this particular field. And let's just go from the rail out just to be able to summarize that point. Number 1, Miles D. That's not a misprint. This horse has not run in nearly a year. Wants to sit back. Closer on the rail at Gulfstream. I'm not crazy about that, especially at the likely price. I do think that horse is going to be favored solely because of the Chad Brown, Joel Rosario, big field angle. I'm going to try to beat that one. Number two, Noble Drama, we'll come back to. That's called foreshadowing, kids. But number three, Mish. Look at those running lines. Look at that big old E8 right next to the name. I don't think they're rating that one. Number four, Octane, and EP8. I don't think they're rating that one. Keep on going. The five, I believe, might be a scratch here. Black
Hmm.
Belt has some early speed. That one, I believe, is going to stalk, and I'm with you. I think that one does have a shot. But you sort of get the picture as we keep going down. Picking up pennies, E8. That horse is going to go. You see Doc Amster. Doc Amster's an E8. Endorsed an EP6, which is a little faster than maybe I thought he was going to be. I like Endorsed a fair bit and think he's going to be setting a perfect trip, 4 or 5 lengths off the lead early, and then coming under Luis Saez to make a run. There's a couple other horses on the outside of this field that have some speed. Number 11, Dean Delivers, is another one that's got some zip. Prevalence has a little bit of early speed, or at least he used to. You get the picture. There's a lot of early speed in here. And with that in mind, Endorsed is my top pick. 5-1 on the morning line. I think we're going to get that price. Endorsed has taken my money a lot. If you look at the running lines, you see a lot of seconds, a lot of thirds, and he's run up against some really good horses. Last year, his connection saw fit to run him in the main event, the Pegasus World Cup. He ran fourth, beaten by Life is Good and Knicks Go. That's not a bad effort right there. You see the 139 prime power for Briz tops in the field. I like the fact that he came back to Gulfstream running, won a 7 furlong allowance optional claimer going 122 and change. We know the 1 mile distance is not going to be a problem for him, and I think he's going to get plenty of early pace. But Josh, can I interest you in a bomb?
Always.
Scroll up to the two again, please. I'm referring to Noble Drama, who needs a meltdown. That's the note that I have in my form. Needs a meltdown. But we just went through the field. There are 6 or 7 horses in here that need the lead and will be going quarter horse out of the gate. Noble Drama's only chance is if a scenario like that happens. And that seems likely in this particular instance. Now, a lot of people are going to be cursing as they listen or watch this, saying, "Oh, you idiot. What are you doing picking a closer on a big day at Gulfstream Park?" Da, 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 da. If Noble Drama was 6-1 or 8-1, I wouldn't be nearly as interested. He's 20-1 on the morning line, and I think we're going to get that price. And the faster they go early, the better this one's chances figure to be. Give me some of Noble Drama at a big, big price to kick off the late pick four. At a minimum, I think he outruns those odds. And if you're playing a stable duel type game where you need a couple of bombs, I think you could do far, far, far worse than Noble Drama, who, if this one gets that kind of a pace, I'm talking 22 flat, 45 and change for the half, we've seen him come running. That race 2 back, optional claimer, last to first with a very, very similar setup. And that day's runner up came right back to win. You're telling me that horse is going to be 20-1? Okay, I'll take a shot. Endorsed seems like the most likely winner, but I wouldn't leave Noble Drama off your tickets.
Yeah, and I mean, people will be quick to forget a couple years back there was a horse I believe named Harvey Wallbanger. It won the Holy Bull. Same
Coriolanary.
same thing, same exact thing, right? There was a ton of speed. I want to say there was like 4 or 5 E8s in that race, and he was kind of the lone closer, and he ended up winning. So it is possible to close at Gulfstream. Meltdowns do happen. Don't happen often, but they do. And I kind of agree with you in this spot that this might be a place where that might happen. Um, I kind of landed on a different. I kind of look at it differently than you. Not necessarily a meltdown, but this horse Black Belt here for Peter Walder and with Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. I was kind of just going through looking at the pace figs, kind of seeing how this sets up, and this horse just has this absolutely gaudy 108 late pace fig here from on Brisnet. This horse has been pretty forwardly placed, hasn't been in too much of any kind of fast paces here. Just slight +1, +2 here, a couple negatives. I probably see this being a double digit on this little Brisnet scale here. So and just kind of looking at some of this horse's run races, even when the pace has gotten fast and he's been forwardly placed, he's still been there at the end. So I thought Black Belt made a ton of sense in this spot. Obviously, Peter Walder is always wins a ton of races at Gulfstream. Gets Irad aboard, who is leading jockey during this championship meet basically all the time. So I think this does set up pretty well for him. It's my top pick in this spot. But on the price side, there was a horse I was pretty interested in, which was the 13-12 Volt Man. I believe this is the other Saffy Joseph horse, you might say. Frankie Dettori rides here, and Frankie Dettori is definitely a very patient rider. He's he has no problem letting the paces go, letting the race develop in front of him. I think that this is a horse that definitely does do his best running late. And once again, going back, if you look at some of these races where there has been a hot pace in front of him, he's been able to close in pretty well. So I kind of saw it the same as you. I don't want a horse on the lead. I'm not looking at who's going to get the lead in this race. Like if I think a horse is getting the lead, I'm kind of tossing. So I kind of think Black Belt's going to sit just off, and I think 12 Volt Man's got a chance. Excuse me, got a chance. Kind of coming in from last in this spot. So
Yeah, 12-Volt Man interested me a little bit. The resume sure looks a lot better if you just draw a big old line through that race on November 12th at Churchill. I believe that was in a bog. If you toss that, you're left with a horse that last time out finished second, beaten a length and a half, in a race that had a little bit of pace, but nothing like the pace we're likely to see in this spot. The race three back was very good. My thing is, I think this one may be better going two turns than one. Having said that, though, makes a lot of sense if you think the race is going to fall apart.
yeah, I think your top pick is well endorsed. I looked at. I don't know what kind of price we're gonna get on this horse. Um, I think this horse is going to take a little bit more money than the morning line suggests. The it is definitely coming in on some good form, right? It seems to kind of they ran him at Kentucky Downs and they laid him up for a little bit. And since coming back, they've stretched him out, half a furlong, and now coming from 6.5 to 7. Now going to be coming running 8, and has just seemed progressed better. I know it's a 7-year-old, maybe he just needed a little bit of time off, but yeah, it definitely an interesting horse, I think, in this spot. I just think that he might be too short for me to kind of give a look at, but I definitely think he's a player in here.
Sure. I understand where you're coming from there. I think 5-1 is actually pretty accurate. Shout out to Pete Aiello, the announcer and morning line man at Churchill Downs. I think he does a very good job. I'm just looking to, I think we're both looking to try to beat the morning line favorite in Miles D. It's not like Miles D can't win, but he hasn't run in 11 months. He's a closer that draws the rail, and he needs a lot to go right from that spot. I would like him a lot more if he drew post 8 or post 9 as opposed to the rail. Unlike a couple of closers that we both like, he's going to need to work out a trip from that inside post. And also, unlike the closers we like, you're not going to get a lot of value with him. If that horse beats me, I'll live with it.
Yeah, if he beats me at like 3-1, 5-2, 2-1, I'll be like, all right, I'll let everyone who had that one, do their victory lap.
Exactly. Yeah.
Unlike you with that fraudulent Beemie award.
Hey, now,
Race 11
again,
here.
spoken like someone who didn't win one.
Race 11 here. The Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf Invitational here.
That's a mouthful.
It's a very much a mouthful. It's kind of a small field in this spot. I think you only get what 8 horses in this or 9 horses in
Nope,
this
keep
race.
going. We
Yeah.
got a bunch.
Yeah, you get 9 horses in this race. Shantasara, your 9-5 morning line favorite here for Chad Brown. I looked at this race. I saw Delika in this race, and I didn't really see a whole lot of other front running pace in here. Um, and I mean, Queen Goddess has definitely shown some pace, um, but that's also a West Coast turf horse. So I don't believe anything coming from the West Coast when it comes to, especially on the turf. So yeah, I just think that Dalika is gonna sit a good trip here. Is gonna get out in the front end, and yeah, this is her first time running at Gulfstream. Um, seems to do her best running at Churchill, including the Churf that they had running this year. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this is going to set up really nice for Dalika. Dalika's going to get on the front end and have her kind of her own way. So I landed it on Dalika as my lone A in this spot, top pick, and kind of going to be what I probably anchor all my plays around late here. But Andrew, you're looking at me skeptically. What what's the problem? What's wrong?
My concern is the race two back where she had an absolutely picture perfect trip, didn't capitalize on it, and got run down by the horse that breaks directly to her outside in the spot. That's Wakanaka. Dalika's a very nice horse, and if she goes out there in, say, 48 and change for the half, the race is probably over. Do I think she towers over this field based on speed, pace figures? No. Number one, Artie's Princess has one way of going. This is a horse trying two turns for the first time, draws the rail. I think her hand is forced. I think she's got to at least go provide some sort of token pressure. You look at Wakanaka, not a lot of speed there, I'll grant you that. Sweet enough, horse number 4 does have some speed. We mentioned Queen Goddess, and this is fascinating to me on a number of levels. All 5 of this horse's victories have come at Del Mar or Santa Anita, including a couple of very nice wins. Technically, the American Oaks is listed as a grade 1. I don't know how because it's off the turf, and they went a mile and a quarter in 2:04 and 3. I have no idea how that race apparently maintained grade 1 status, but apparently it did. Did win a couple of nice races out west last year with the Santa Ana and the Bobby Frankel. Didn't get any sort of pushback up front. You see the 9-2 morning line. I think that comes down, and at her likely price, she hits me as an underlay. But I do think there's going to be no secret as to what she's going to do. She's going to want to be up on the lead as well. The horse that I'm interested in at a bit of a price is the one right to the outside of that one. That's number 7, Lady Rockstar. The last race was the Grade 3 Sewanee River right here at Gulfstream. That was her first race in about 5 months. She comes in off of a layoff as a closer. And while the fractions don't look terribly slow, Gulfstream's turf can play very fast. And when you see 47 for the half, that's not all that fast. She wound up closing and darn near got there in the first race off of a layoff. And I think she takes a step forward in this spot. Tyler Gaffleone has been enlisted to ride. He has already ridden her to a victory in her stateside debut, May 7th at Churchill of last year. The faster they go early, the better her chances figure to be. If Dalika gets left alone on the front end, it's game over. But if Dalika has some company up front, I don't think she's infallible. And I think there's every chance number 7, Lady Rockstar, is the one running on late at a bit of a price. 6-1 on the morning line. I think we'll get that price, maybe even drift up a little bit to about 8-1. My concern is the trainer, Brendan Walsh, who is on an epic cold run to start the Gulfstream meet. I've got him at 0 for 18 in the DRF past performances so far this meet. Not all that great, but the more I look at this race, the more I think Dalika is not going to be alone on the front end, and the more I think maybe a closer is one I at least want on the ticket along with her.
Yeah, I'm curious how DRF breaks those out. Because obviously Brisnett's got him 14 for 112. He's got him at 13%.
I
So
think that might have been his 2022 mark, all things considered.
yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a couple of good points. There is more speed in here than I kind of originally handicapped for. Like I said, I don't know what to make of Queen Goddess. I mean, you look back at those fractions in those races, and I mean, I just think the Lika is faster. So there might be more speed, maybe, but I just think the Lika is kind of the speed of the speed here. I mean, went 23 and 46 at Kentucky Downs, which basically is uphill, both ways. And to quote my parents when they used to walk to school.
15 miles in the snow.
Yeah.
I got the
So
lecture.
but uh, but you do bring up a very good point about Artie's Princess. Stretching out from basically only sprinting at this point, and has shown sprinter speed at Woodbine. So it'll be interesting to see what the one does. I mean, Jose Ortiz, I think, is a very aggressive rider when it comes to the turf. He especially of the two Ortiz brothers, he's definitely the more aggressive early. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it really does come down to what the one does. But I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily going to matter too much. I'll probably still ride or die with this two Delica in this spot. So
I
we didn't talk about chance. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just going to say I understand that for sure. I think Dalika is much faster than the other early speed horses in this race. I just think she's going to have to work a little bit to get to the front end. That's all. And you mentioned Shantasara. I think it's pretty odd that we haven't talked about her. And the question is, which Shantasara do we get? If we get the Shantasara that we saw in late 2021 when she reeled off 3 straight wins, including a really nice score in the QE2 at Keeneland, she's going to be tough. They brought her back in the Jenny Wiley. She was second beaten a length by a very nice horse in Regal Glory, who may very well be an Eclipse Award winner this time tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday night. Eclipse Awards are Thursday. They vanned her off that day, and she did not do much running at all whatsoever in her comeback race in November at Keeneland. Entirely possible that she needed that race, but we also know that there are some times when mares just get over the top and don't want to run much anymore. Maybe Shantasara is good enough. Maybe she gets the kind of setup that she needs, but I see 9-5 on the morning line. I don't want to bet a horse like that at 9-5. Josh, do you?
No, and just kind of looking through the past performances, this might be a horse that just needs a little bit of cut in the ground. And I don't know what the forecast looks like for this weekend, but I mean, if it comes up firm, I definitely don't want any piece of Shantasara at a very short price.
I am looking up the weather forecast now. Clear, in fact, through not just this coming weekend, but most of next week. So
Yeah.
looking like fast and firm.
All right, let's keep on going here. The Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational here. This is another. This is another. This is a very very good race. I really. This was just a fun race to look at. You got some. You got some names in here. You got some. You got some horses that that were names. You got like Decorated Invader, who was just like, as a 3-year-old, looked like he was going to be some unstoppable force, and kind of, ended up kind of leveling off. I think after that 3-year-old
He
campaign.
got hurt
Uh,
in the middle of 2021. That didn't help either.
yeah. But yeah, this was just a really really fun race. You got a field of 12, 2 AEs here. Your morning line favorite is going to be the 10 Ivar for Paulo Lobo, and a very very accomplished horse. I don't I don't know. This horse has just hasn't run well when stretching out past a mile. I mean, this is absolutely, I think, almost 100% a miler. So it's very interesting that this is a short price on a horse doing something that, not necessarily for the first time, but doing something that last time he tried doing it didn't do very well. So yeah, this is going to be a really really fun race to handicap. Andrew, you're already smirking, so I'm interested to see what you're thinking here.
I'd like to start with an apology, Josh.
Hmm.
I know I'm a lot. I know there's a lot that comes with my personality and the things that I do to try to get a rise out of people. I would like to atone right now with my best bet of the late pick 4 sequence. There's no speed in here at all whatsoever. Lady Spitespear is a stalking type. She does not want the lead. Atone does. Now, I do not think we're going to get that 12 to 1 on the morning line. I think Atone is going to be everybody's wise guy horse. Mike Maker trains, Gerardo Cheese Jr. rides, and it looks like the lone speed. I think we're going to get closer to 6 to 1 than the 12 to 1 that we're seeing on the morning line. That last race at Aqueduct is, I think, a carbon copy for the scenario this horse wants. Get out front early, get nice and comfortable, and then have plenty left late. And indeed, plenty left late is an apt description. If you look at the last furlong time, which Brisnet has there, you see the mile in 135 and 3, and you see the mile and an eighth in 147. This horse came home in 11 and 2 for the last furlong of a 9 furlong race. I love that prep. I know that's a perfect trip, but if you toss the two back race where Atone never had a shot breaking from post 11 in an 11 horse field, how much better does Atone's form suddenly look if you just toss that one running line clear out the window? I love Atone in this spot. Atone gets inside of the other speed horses in here. And by other speed horses, I mean stalking types, the likes of Lady Spitespear, who I saw you have an A next to. Lady Spitespear is a nice horse. I thought she had a picture-perfect trip last time out in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf beneath Luis Saez. Luis Saez gave this one a heck of a ride, wrangling that horse back, and then wound up getting through a really tight opening, settled for third behind Tuesday in an Italian. She's a very nice horse, but I think Atone gets to the front and forgets to stop. And if you're telling me that horse is going to be 12 to 1, sign me up. Atone is who I'm going to be funneling a lot of action through. Atone is going to be a pretty big play for me. And if Atone runs well, chances are no matter what else happens throughout the rest of the card at Gulfstream, I'm going to have a pretty good day.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just talked about the two horses that I liked in this spot. Um, I I see nothing wrong with the tone. I think I basically agree with all your points. I think that this is going to be a horse that's going to be on the front end, and yeah, I don't think we get 12 to 1. I think everyone's going to see the same thing we see. I think we might get half that. I'm thinking maybe 6 to 1, 7 to 1, 8 to 1. If it's more than that, I mean, I will be ecstatic. But a tone is definitely going to be on all my tickets. Um, I just thought. Now I know you said that Lady Spitespear is a more of a stalking type. I mean, if you go back to the Nassau, horses on the front end went wire to wire. You know, went 23 and 1, 45 and 4 on the front end.
Well, if I
Uh,
may jump in really quickly, there's a big distinction between races at Woodbine and races anywhere else. I love Woodbine, it's one of my favorite tracks. You're not going to find a turf course layout like that anywhere. The mile is of the one turn variety. Those mile turf races at Woodbine run like sprints, and you see some really fast times. It's an impressive effort, don't get me wrong. I just don't think 45 and 4 at Woodbine translates to 45 and 4 anywhere else.
okay, went 23 and 46 and 4 at Gulfstream, going a mile and 16th in December of 21. So has shown speed, has been on the front end or within at least one length of the lead in every race, with the exception of that Breeders' Cup turf the Breeders' Cup race at Keeneland, where she was a million to one. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Lady Spitespear just gets out in the front end instead of a tone, especially because you get Luis Saez on one and you get Irad Ortiz on the other. I think that sometimes Irad is very content to give up the lead on maybe a little too content to give up the lead on some
Irad
horses.
Ortiz, if you are somehow watching this, send a tone.
So I don't know. I went with I gave the nod to Lady Spitesphere in here, but
I
I
hear
will
you
have a
there.
tone on both of them.
She's a nice horse, and if a tone misses the break or gets inexplicably taken back, Lady Spitespear is the other logical winner. I respect a couple of other horses in here. The main problem to me with Ivar isn't his running style, it isn't the distance, it's the post. You get that far outside at Gulfstream, you've got a problem. You can't necessarily be in a situation where you can't win, but you've got to be much the best in order to do that. Much the best with a picture perfect trip. And that's just tough to do in a big field like this. Nice horse, 5-2 is a little short for me. And the same can be said for City Man, who you've got on the screen right now. Very nice horse. New York bred that's won a lot, and I mean a lot of races. $13,000 shy of $1 million in career earnings. Nice horse. Will have a stud deal in place somewhere by the time he's done. Honest horse. He's running a lot of races. That post is a freaking killer.
I think City Man also needs a setup. I mean, if you look at that Fort Lauderdale last time, I mean, it went 46-4 going a mile and an eighth, um, and he sat off that pace and kicked home. Um, the Mohawk was kind of a pretty slow, your typical Naira special there, um, but that that figure came back real slow. So I don't know. I think City Man might need a setup. If I were gonna take, if I thought that that there was gonna be some type of pace setup here, there's gonna be a lot of pace. I'd much more would rather take the price on a horse like the 11 Masterpiece, who I think has definitely proven if he gets some pace to run into, is a very, very, very good, has very, very good turn of foot, is a really good closer. And I mean, I remember when this horse came over and into the Chad Brown barn, I thought that this was like Chad's next big horse. I mean, he won a really, really nice race first time out, and Chad put him in all the races, and he just kind of, it just didn't seem like he was able to put it together. But won a nice race last year, the Ed Reed, but did get a ton of pace to run into. Obviously, didn't get much pace in that BC turf, and just ran kind of an even eighth the entire time. But yeah, I gave a look at Masterpiece. I thought, maybe he could do something here, but I'm just afraid he's not going to get the pace he needs to close in.
The only other horse that I want to talk about that we haven't mentioned is the horse that might make me, a gigantic Frankie Dettori fan, look like a fool. And that's horse number 4 in the program coming over from across the pond to run in the Pegasus Turf Cup. That's Hurricane Dream. This one hasn't won in quite a while, but he's danced some pretty big dances. You see Group 2s and Group 3s overseas. Is this a grade 1 caliber field? I don't know. I see a horse that's been competitive at a very high level, but I also see a horse, and you can't unfortunately see this in Briz because they don't have the trip lines. This horse will drop back and make one big run. Might be a little bit pace dependent. Having said that, on talent, Hurricane Dream absolutely fits. I just don't think he gets quite the shape that he needs. But you see Frankie Dettori in a turf race for a lot of money, right below a 15-1 in the program. I can understand people if they go in that direction.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on in this race?
Not necessarily. I think we hit as much as we were going to hit. It's just you get a situation like this where you get a bunch of horses that are trip dependent. You find the horse that's likely to sit the best trip. And I think we're on the 2 horses that have enough speed to make their own trips rather than trying to bet a closer to come out of the clouds and having a rider make all of the right decisions. If you're on a speed horse, you've got far fewer decisions to make, especially if you make the lead.
All right, the big one, quote unquote. Pegasus World Cup Invitational here. Grade 1, Andrew Champagne. This is a grade 1 race. Much like you are a Beemie winner, this is a grade 1.
So you're acknowledging that the whole Beemie Award thing is not necessarily fraudulent then, if you're pointing out that the grade 1 is in fact true and comparing it to this thing. Thank you. I win. There we go. There we go. All right. Once again, your Beemie winner. Winner. Now, You look at the Pegasus World Cup. Cyberknife is a legitimate racehorse and is a legitimate favorite. It is unfortunate, but this will be Cyberknife's last career start. After this race, this son of Gunrunner, who only got better with age, is going to the breeding shed. It's the state of the game. Breeding, being the tail that wags the dog. It is what it is. I will not begrudge any owner that cashes in like that with the economy what it is. We really need to do a better job keeping our horses on the track as opposed to the breeding shed, but that's going to take an overhaul that I don't think people making money hand over fist want to do right now. The question is, can Cyberknife win from post position 10? When I saw the post position draw, I said, oh, wow, he's going to have a really hard time. But then you take a look at the dynamics inside of him. Josh, your favorite racehorse in training is White Abarrio. He's horse number 4 in the program. He's going to want to go early. He doesn't necessarily need the lead anymore in order to run well, but he's going to want to go early. I see no scenario in which defunded directly to his outside does not go. I don't think Bob Baffert is shipping that horse in from Santa Anita to rate him given the last 2 starts. You keep going down and you see horse number 6, Art Collector. One of my personal favorites, a horse that I made a lot of money on when he beat Swiss Skydiver in the Bluegrass a couple of years ago. But a horse that's seen better days and another horse that really wants to go early. I think there's a scenario where at least 2 of those 3 horses peel off early. And if Cyberknife can clear a majority of those going into the first turn, he might be a little bit wide, but he also might be in the clear and fall into a picture perfect stalking trip. And with that in mind, he is my top pick. I wish I could go for a bit of a bigger price, but I see a horse that did all the right things late in the year. You cross out the Derby, and other than LeCompte, he didn't really fire a bad shot all year long, running up against some very, very good horses. I like the work tab. You know, Brad Cox is going to have him fit as a fiddle. Cyberknife is absolutely the horse to beat. And while the outside post is a problem, I don't think it's an insurmountable problem. I like White Abarrio a little bit for a lot of the same reasons, potentially sitting an absolutely perfect stalking trip at a track where he is 4 for 4. He is 4 for 4 at Gulfstream. He is 0 for 6 everywhere else. But he comes in off of what I thought was a pretty darn good effort in the Grade 1 Cigar Mile, where he was beaten less than a length by Mind Control and Get Her Number in a photo that absolutely positively crushed me. At any rate, you get White Abarrio on his home track. You see 10-1 in the program. I think that's about right. Again, shout out to my man Pete Aiello. I think he got the morning line on this race exactly right. And then you also look at another horse, I believe, from the Saffie barn, and I'm talking about Skippy Longstocking, a horse that certainly seems, this is horse number 7 I'm talking about, so other direction. There we go. Skippy Longstocking, a horse that certainly got better as he got older in that 3-year-old campaign, a horse that was 3rd in the Belmont behind Mo Donegal and Nest, came right back to win the West Virginia Derby, didn't have any shot in the Pennsylvania Derby with the way that track was playing on that particular day, but came right back, won the local prep for this pretty impressively, has some tactical speed, but it would not shock me at all if Jose Ortiz just took Skippy Longstocking back, especially given the fact that the 2 horses to his inside, Defunded and Art Collector, are going to go balls to the wall early on. I'm thinking this is 10 with 4-7. Cyberknife, I think, is legitimate. And I think the way you potentially get some value with him is to go tight in the vertical exotics underneath that one and hope you find the right runners to finish 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, I kind of saw the pace scenario similar to you. Definitely with the 5 and the 6 going. You know, the Pennsylvania Derby, it was kind of surprising that White Abarrio kind of got out there on the lead because it seemed like all of his best races came from off the pace. You know, that Florida Derby, there was just wicked pace up front, and he sat off and just kind of closed into it. So I always thought that White Barrow did his best racing sitting off the pace. So I'm hoping here that that Tyler is smart enough to kind of let the others go here, and he sits that stalking trip that you were talking about. Um, it's hard to ignore that 4 for 4, and although the results don't show, he definitely did get better as the year went on. As far as figures go, at least the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cigar Mile being races, I think good enough to win here um, with the at least on the Briz speed figure scale here. But yeah, I like White Barrio. I think he's going to be a bit of a I don't know necessarily know if he's going to get lost on the board. I think a lot of people are going to bet him based off of the 4 for 4. So I could see him coming down quite a bit into that 6 to 1 range. Which as much as we talk about like late odds drop, going from 10 to 1 to 6 to 1, like isn't that it looks big in an odd standpoint, but actually from taking money isn't like nearly as big as like going from 5 to 2 to 2 to 1 or something like that. So
Well, it's
I
going to
forget the
be
math,
a
but
race like this because the pool is going to be gigantic. So if
mhm.
somebody wants to manipulate the odds pool late, they're going to have to take a really big shot. That's not to say it's not going to happen, but it's going to be a case where if that happens, the total handle of the race is going to go up significantly.
Yeah. I actually I know I only wrote down White Barrio. I was gonna obviously Caleb and Mark will
You have a
probably
gimmick
give
to
me
uphold.
crap. Yeah, I do have a gimmick, which is just
Take it
the
from someone who has made a living on the gimmick. Uphold the gimmick, Josh.
but yeah, I guess I wouldn't be the second biggest White Barrio fan, right? If I didn't single him here. Shout out to Rennie, who is the biggest White Barrio fan. But I don't know. I kept on coming back to Proxy, and I kept on looking at Proxy, and I kept on asking myself, why not Proxy? For a long time, I'd waited for this horse to kind of come around. I'd bet this horse a ton. I think I bet this horse every single time in those fairground races. And Andrew, you have your hand up. Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Champagne.
you said why not proxy?
Uh huh.
Because the Clark was awful. Rich Strike did not fire. I loved proxy that day. I was in the Flamingo Race and Sportsbook on that particular day, and proxy was my biggest bet of the day. Turning for home, I thought proxy was home and cooled out, winning by 7 or 8, and he just kept drifting and drifting and drifting. He wound up getting up. He did not look particularly impressive doing it. Now, the other thing I don't love about Proxy with the way he runs, Josh, I hate the post. You've got a horse that doesn't have enough speed to threaten for the lead, but doesn't have enough of a late kick to where Joel can do the Joel move where he just sort of walks out of the gate, spots the field 10 or 15 lengths, and comes running. That's not Proxy's game either. And on the morning line, he's the second choice.
Did you freeze, or are you just holding that pose?
I'm just holding it. I'm waiting.
um, I I don't know. I like I said, I just kept on looking, and I think the run style fits. I mean, I think you make a good point about the post. Um, Joel's gonna have to work out a trip with all these horses crossing in front of him. Um, and yeah, he'll probably have to go to the outside and go 3 4 wide off the turn in order to get somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it just depends on what's going to happen here. Pace wise. I mean, the 5 and the 6 are going to go. Two horses do not make a meltdown. But you got a horse like Riding with Biden who's definitely shown a propensity to go to the lead occasionally. Um, I don't know, something stupid might happen with White Barrio, and they think that they're going to use the same tactics they used in the Pennsylvania Derby. I don't think that's the right way to go with the horse, but I don't train the horse, and I also am not the rider of the horse, so what I think doesn't matter. So and then Skippy Longstocking hasn't necessarily shown front end speed. Most kind of stalked a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe he presses a little bit. Maybe a horse like Stiletto Boy decides to get sent with Go Go Mike Smith there on the outside. I don't know. If we get a little bit more pace in here, I don't see why a horse like Proxy can't sit a good trip. If he lets all the horses kind of just cross in front of him and close it a little bit more. I agree. The Clark was not the race this year. But he's been close in a bunch of other races this year as well. So I wouldn't say that we're only looking at the Clark here at this point.
I
So
would like him so much more, even if he broke in post number 5. It's just one of those instances where when you've got a closer at Gulfstream, you already need a fair amount to go right. Not necessarily a ton, just a fair amount. And if one thing goes wrong, it's very, very difficult. Now, can Proxy run second or third? Absolutely. But on the win end, I can't take 9-2. I would need something in the neighborhood of 8-1, which I know I'm not going to get.
all right. Well, anything else on the Pegasus here?
Well, it's a 13 race card, and one of the things about Gulfstream is usually they drag, but the Pegasus World Cup, I believe, has a network deal, so they cannot drag too much. First post time for those of you who want to bet all of the races, you're going to need to get up pretty early to do it. East Coast time 10:50 a.m. Out here on the West Coast 7:50 a.m. on a Saturday morning. The one thing is, this is Andrew Champagne Heaven Day for me on Saturday because we get 13 races at Gulfstream Park the day after a mandatory pick 6 payout at Golden Gate Fields that I intend to hit, by the way. That'll stake the rest of the day. You know what we get on Saturday night, Josh?
What?
The Royal Rumble.
Oh, goodness gracious.
It's going to be a great day to be me. It's going to be so awesome. And hopefully we can celebrate a couple of wins between Pegasus World Cup card and our friend Gino Bocola's annual Royal Rumble pool, which I am once again in. Cheap plug, by the way. I did a spot on his podcast that just went live on Wednesday night. We went through both Royal Rumbles. It was myself, Gino Bocola, Darren Zocali, and Chad Cooper. We talked for 3 hours on the
Wait,
paper.
both Royal Rumbles?
Yes, there's a men's Royal Rumble and a women's Royal Rumble, Josh. What's the program here? Come on.
I forgot when it was, but the other day I had to mention the famous Royal Rumble ending with Bret Hart and Lex Luger.
They both hit the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember that one.
And that set up WrestleMania 10, where Bret opened against Owen Hart and closed against Yokozuna. And I've always talked about that with my wrestling friends and said, which is more remarkable? The fact that he had one of the best matches in wrestling history with his brother to start the show, or the fact that he got a watchable to very good match out of Yoko freaking Zuna in the main event. Remember, Yokozuna was about 500 pounds at that point, legitimately.
What did
These are things that go through my brain, Josh.
What did you ever think about the way that that Vince did old Bret Hart on his way out?
Oh gosh, there's not enough hours in the day to go through the Montreal screw job, and I don't want to alienate the 3 or 4 listeners that have listened to the previous 54 minutes and 20 seconds of this podcast. So I'll simply say, if you want to talk wrestling, find me on Twitter, and we'll wind up doing something there. But no, that was huge. I vividly remember the mid to late 90s because my dad getting sick and tired of watching the same things over and over and over again. When I was over on a Monday night, just threw on WCW Monday Nitro. We didn't think anything of it, whatever. That episode was the episode where Scott Hall debuted, jumped the barricade, and said, "We're taking over." That, of course, would wind up being the start of the NWO angle. So right away, I was hooked. And in fact,
Well,
by the way, t-shirt I'm wearing from Homage. This is WWE Slam in the style of NBA Jam graphics with the Undertaker and Kane. Got a whole bunch of these. Fantastic stuff. Seriously, it's funny.
you're just so excited you got to talk any kind of wrestling here.
Yes, of course. And in fact, I know that if some people are listening, they'll be kicking themselves and have to tell us both about that. So now we'll see who listens to us and who wants to admit it.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Andrew, where can people find you this weekend?
You can find Beemie winner Andrew Champagne on Twitter at Andrew Champagne. May also be writing some stuff for my website, andrewchampagne.com, especially if I've got some stronger opinions earlier on the program. Seriously, Jason, thanks, man. Like, not necessarily for this. This is all gimmick. This is serious, Andrew, coming out here. That was a really cool thing for you to do. You had a really cool thing for a couple of years when a lot of people really needed it. And you did something that nobody else has been able to do as far as unifying horse racing Twitter for a little while. So shout out to you, my friend. You're a good one.
Awesome. And then yeah, we'll be live Thursday night here on YouTube, doing our we're gonna be previewing. We're gonna do a late pick five, I think, for Pegasus Day. I know we kind of did the late pick four here a little bit, but I'll have a little bit more time to dig deeper into the card. Maybe have some more plays here, and then we'll have obviously Mark at Two Turns with us, and Matthew DeSantis, who's always a great fill-in when one of us can't make it. So it'll be a fun time Thursday night, and then yeah, we will obviously you can check us at wrong_lead on Twitter, on YouTube at youtube.com/on the wrong lead. Andrew is pointing down, telling you to like and subscribe. So and then if you could go ahead and just download the podcast, even if you don't listen every week, downloads help.
And seriously, to those of you that have been listening the last few weeks, thank you. We have noticed a spike out of absolutely nowhere, and we can't figure it out. The one that we did on my Eclipse Award ballot is one of the most listened to podcasts on the network for reasons that, Josh, I don't know about you, but I sure as heck can't figure, because who the heck wants to listen to me talk about my Eclipse Award ballot for 50 minutes? I don't know. But
Besides
apparently
you, I have no idea.
it's more people than we thought. So at any rate, if you've spent some time listening or watching, thank you. Know that we appreciate it. And that's genuine stuff. We kid around a lot here. I go into my carnival barker mode whenever I decide that I need to take a couple of people off. But genuinely speaking, if you've supported us these last couple of months, thank you. It means a lot.
Yep, and I mean, the growth that we've seen. I mean, I know it's been slow and steady, but I mean, like I said, we appreciate everybody who listens or watches and does anything, with us. We do it because we just like doing it. It's just a fun thing for us to do. So yeah, we appreciate it. So we will catch you guys later. Have a good week, Andrew.
Have a great Pegasus, guys. Take it easy.